Hi, welcome to Mzansi Moms. So today's talk is going to be on potty training. I know. And so if you're a mom to a young toddler who is still in diapers, you're probably wondering, okay, how am I going to do this? And if you are a first-time mom, it's even more anxiety inducing to try and figure out, how did we do it? How did my parents do it? How does everyone else do it? And if you have a young one that's now going on to go to daycare and to creche, you've probably have had that conversation with the headmaster asking you about Tando or Ben or Little Tepo, whether they potty trained. And you're trying to figure out with work and all the social pressures that I have. Some moms are in school. How am I going to potty train this child? What does it involve? And this talk is for you. Firstly, let's start with what is potty training. So potty training is basically getting your child to go from wearing nappies to now wearing underwear in a spot where they're able to vocalize and tell you that, oh mom, I need to go to use the bathroom, or I'm ready to use the loo. So it's basically that transition. It is a milestone that we do recognize as doctors, as schools, that most children do achieve. There has been changes with regards to trends from time with regards to what happens to potty training. Back in the day, children used to potty train quite earlier, and now in more urbanized areas, especially in the West, we're finding that children are actually potty training at a later age than they used to. And this is actually different with regards to the developed world and the developing world. We find that in the developing countries like ours, children still tend to get potty trained earlier. And the question begs is, when do I start potty training my child? So the concept of potty training readiness comes into play, and you'll find that when you take your little one for their well baby visits with your healthcare provider, they usually start this conversation around after a year or so. So they will start asking you about your child's neurodevelopmental processes. They will ask, that means how your child is walking and how your child's language is going. They will start asking you, have you started thinking about potty training? We don't suggest that you start yet, because the whole point of potty training readiness is to ensure that children are not started too early or too late, because with either of the extremes of the spectrums, you find certain problems and you will not get successful potty training. So basically, you need your child to be physiologically ready. So this means that their bladder is able to go for some time without them having accidents, so they can have a nap during the day about for 2 to 3 hours without having an accident. And some children sometimes can be able to go a night without having accident. And your child obviously should be able to mobilize and go to the potty and able to pull his or her pants up and down, so you know that the coordination is also intact. And your child's language should be developed so that they can vocalize to you when they want to use the loo, and they can also understand you when you're doing the training and you're given certain commands and so forth. And then after all of those readiness signs have been assessed, we need to decide when we're going to start readiness training. You do not want to do it when there's going to be an interruption in the whole process of training. For example, mom is going to have to go to work soon because they've been at home with babies. So now there's pressure to get it done quick. So you don't want to do it then. You don't want to do when there is going to be an introduction of a new baby into the house, because now there's going to be also pressure to get it done quickly, or a pending acceptance to a creche or a new daycare. The whole point is to remove the pressure off of the event. And you also want to make it as enjoyable for the child, and you don't want it to be a traumatic experience. So you need to look at your own expectations from your child and realize that my child is a baby and this is something that they're going to achieve. Most children achieve potty training, and I should be patient with my baby. So the bulk of the research shows that most children achieve physiological, neurodevelopmental, social readiness for potty training by 18 months to about 2 years or so. And that's when you should also be trying to get certain cues from your baby as well, that they're now ready to take on this new learning curve. So if you notice that your child is starting to be uncomfortable with having accidents in their diaper, your child is starting to report when they have urinated or passed a stool in their diaper. And that's the other thing that parents should be aware of when they are potty training. The language and the verbiage that we use to describe accidents. We don't want to shame our children, because that can also have a harmful effect on the potty training, which can lead to them hiding their soiled diapers, feeling shamed, and stool retention, which can be a vicious cycle of constipation and later on voiding abnormalities such as encoparesis. So it shouldn't be a shameful language that we use, or a language that makes the child feel bad, but just looking and making sure that your child is starting to show you cues that they're also ready to take on this new process. So what do? Where do you start? And I'm sure most of us, we always start where? At Google. The first thing we go to Google, we put in how to potty train, and the first searches that comes up is potty train in a weekend, 3-day potty training online course for young moms. And I know I laughed when I saw that it's like a 200 Rand course. And if I'm by myself and I'm working and I only have weekends off and I see this thing promising me great results, I'm going to take this course for 200 Rand and see what they're doing, and so I can get little Johnny or Tando or Ben into their undies nice and quick. But this whole point of the video is to try and talk about the pros and cons of such rigorous, pressure-filled training courses to get your little ones into their daytime dryness. And the other things that people go to is YouTube, and YouTube is filled with these 2-day, 3-day promises of getting your young one from diaper to underwear and within a weekend. But realizing that all of that is also quite stressful. It's a lot of pressure on the mom and the child, and it most of the time is not so successful. But there are people who come out of those processes reporting that the children have been dry after that. And as someone who basically, I don't have a child, I just deal with children with regards to my work. I have nieces and nephews, and I have seen how the process goes. I can say that that is a very hard process. So there's basically 2 schools of thought when it comes to potty training approaches or methods that are used. The first one is the parent-orientated approach. It's basically the old school way of doing it, and it came from theories that come from the 1970s or so, based on structural behavioral training. And it's based on 4 principles. Mainly, you're going to make sure that your child is drinking more, so you increase their fluid intake. And you will have structural scheduled time for when you will take the child to the loo, and you include little positive reinforcements when the child is able to vocalize to you that they want to go to the loo, and you actually get to the loo in time without accidents by rewards, bribes, Skittles, Smarties, whatever your child likes. Or it could just be verbal, complimenting the child and tell them they have a star if they manage to get to the loo in time. But it also involves overcorrection. So if the child doesn't tell you in time that, oh mom, I need to go to the loo, or mommy, I need to do or popo. And by the time you get to the loo, accident has happened. It involves overcorrecting and ensuring that, oh look, poo, you made a doo, no, it's not nice, or yucky, which is not what's suggested, because it tends to have negative results, as I've spoken, with regards to toilet holding, putting pressure on the event, and it can be stressful for both mom and child. Also with regards to the positive reinforcement, I mean, it's too much, too extra to have to give the child Smarties, sweets, or presents or gifts every time they do to the loo. Most parents will tell you that is not going to end well. And there is also high rates of it being not successful. And then you get the more child-orientated approach, and that came later on in the 80s and 90s or so. So it's basically that the child leads the process. So you recognize the signs of readiness. The child is giving you cues that they're uncomfortable with regards to going to the loo, and you engage them with the potty. You will get a training potty, and you let the child sit on the training potty, can sit there with their clothes on, and just get used to the whole process of sitting on the potty training. You can include positive reinforcements with regards to compliments. When they do vocalize that they want to go to the potty, you can put the potty in the room where the child plays, and then later move the potty in the bathroom. And so it's slowly, gradually building without an intense scheduled program that the child needs to follow with a time limit. So basically, these short-term courses have tried to take from both of these theories, but more with the rigorous, and that timing that they give is more parent orientated. And when it comes to research, it's actually shown that it takes around 6 months to achieve successful potty training that is not harmful to the child, and that will not have negative outcomes as that we've spoken about, such as the stool withholding and the fear of using the potty, the stress, or being unsuccessful and your child still having accidents after that. So you want a nice medium, and you also want to understand that this is going to be a process. Process is going to take some time. I shouldn't pressurize my child. I shouldn't pressurize myself. Once I have identified the signs of readiness, I'm now going to get the potty into the house, get the potty close proximity to the child, or if it's a stepper that you use that the child can go up, I'd suggest using the potty first, because the toilets, the opening of the toilets is very intimidating to the children. And even though the potty chairs have something to restrict the size of the opening of the potty chairs, but still climbing up to go sit on top of the steppers is quite daunting. So if you have a potty that you can put in their playroom and then later on move into the bathroom, so that the child can start mimicking the whole process of sitting in the potty, that can also help you. And removing the whole time limit sort of removes those extra pressures with regards to, I have to finish this and I have to get it done and I have to get the child into their undies by this amount of time, and you eliminate those factors. And in that way, your child will steadily keep coming to you and asking if they can use the potty. So generally, you want a good middle ground of the two approaches. You want to, in summary, make sure that your child is ready physiologically, what we discussed. We want to ensure that you have time, there won't be interruption to the process, and to know that you also have time, that this process can take a good 6 months. So remove the pressure off of yourself. Then you want to get the potty into the house around the child so that they get familiar with it, as we've spoken. Put it into the environment. You don't have to start with it in the bathroom yet, and then later move it to the bathroom. You want to get your child on top of the potty. They can sit there with their clothes on, and there's actually books. I don't feel there's enough African books that deal with potty training, because imagery is very important for children. They need to see people that look like them. And if your child is of European descent, there are books that look like your child and they can show them how they're sitting on the potty. But I think there should actually be more books that look like our children and show them why they should be sitting on the potty. And then you want to get your child used to taking off their clothes on and off. So have them take the bottom clothes off and sit on their potty without their bottom clothes. And they can even mimic all the children if you have in the house. And then they can mimic them while they're sitting on the potty. And then you want to start showing the child that the number 2 belongs within the number 2, their feces or their popo belongs within the potty. So you can, if they've had an accident, show them when you take the potty, their diaper to the potty or the loo, and then show them and let them know first that you're going to flush, because the flushing can also overwhelm children, and especially if they've not been exposed to it, and that can scare them away. So warn the child that we're going to flush and it's going to make a noise, and then flush the potty, and then tell them there goes the potty, it's going away. And then your child starts to associate that, oh, my feces, my poo, it belongs in the loo. And then they start making those associations. And make sure that when you start doing potty training, that your child is not wearing restrictive clothes that is interrupting them with taking on, taking off, and removing their clothes and so forth. So basically, it's advised that whether your child is a boy or a girl, start them sitting on the potty, whether they, when they pee, even if it's a boy, start them sitting, and once they're able to go to the potty and sit and pee, then you can start training them how to loo or pee with them standing. So start with them sitting, then go to them standing as well. And with regards to what to get, what you can afford, there's different prices and different prices with regards to the potties. You can have the ones that look like toilets, and then you can have the little ones that actually just look like something that your child can sit on, and then it won't spill over, but it's steady that your child can sit on, and that will also upset your child. You don't want them to have their urine all over themselves, and you have to start from scratch now with the whole process. So yeah. So basically, the whole thing is to not start too early, because your child is not physiologically ready for potty training. Start when your child is ready. I'll leave a link to my blog where I speak about the science of readiness and everything that I've spoken about in the video. And also give yourself time, give your child time, remove the pressure from the process, and get your child involved, and let your child also lead the process, and enjoy it. Everyone is going to be dry. Well, most children end up being dry, and you actually expect your child to have daytime and nighttime continence with regards to not having accidents during the day and during the night by the time they're about 4 years old. So you have time, so don't let anyone pressure you and make you feel otherwise. And enjoy, moms. Thank you.